Hello everyone, welcome to ProTaxtic Solutions. In this video, we are going to see the budget highlights of our indirect taxes. So here we have one guest with us today and his name is CA Rajshekaran and he's a young chartered accountant who qualified in the year 2017 and he set up his practice in the year 2018 and he's from KPMG and then he set up his own practice and he has versatile clients like manufacturing sector, then information technology, construction, real estate, and so he is so much obsessed like me in indirect taxes. So, but I am onto the different field wherein I am into academics and he is more into the practice. So therefore, we just wanted to create a blend of the knowledge to understand what are the nuances of the budget as per the recent Finance Bill 2023. So, I welcome my guest today.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Welcome everyone to the channel. Yeah. So actually, as the budget came on 1st February 2023, and there were quite few amendments in the GST and customs, which were impact of the 48th and 47th council meeting, which were made in the budget amendments.
Yes. So how do you see this budget first of all? So in general, I'm asking, not necessary for indirect taxes, but in general, I'm asking, how do you see this budget from the business perspective, that is the taxpayer's perspective? So what do you feel?
No, from the as point of view of the business owners, I think this budget, there are a lot of incentives which has been introduced for a lot of MSME sectors and also the personal income taxes slabs for the new regime has been increased, which will have benefits for a lot of individual taxpayers.
Yes. So even I heard something like 7 lakhs rebate is given.
Rebate is given.
So you don't have to pay income.
So up to 7 lakhs, people don't have to pay any tax now. So those benefits are given to the individual taxpayers, and also for the large businesses, there are various incentives and schemes which are provided by the government, which can be helpful for them.
Yes. So then moving on to our agenda for today, that is indirect taxes. So in this indirect taxes, we have like small number of amendments in GST for the budget. So because as you rightly pointed out in our discussion, that many of the changes will happen in GST council meeting. For income tax, it is only budget, Finance Act. Whereas when it comes to GST, it is like GST council meeting. If I'm not right, if I'm not wrong, I think February 18th, another GST council meeting.
Correct. There is a rumor that on 18th there is
18th there is a
proposed GST council meeting is going to happen on 18th.
Okay.
So I think we can expect a lot more changes in the February 18th meeting than in this budget.
Okay, fine. So yes, so after the GST council meeting, definitely we'll have another session on that. And over to this budget, clause by clause, we will have a discussion today. And the first thing, we are starting with GST. So in GST, the first amendment is related to section 10. So in section 10, there is like this e-commerce operator. Whenever I am making supply of goods or services through e-commerce operator, I cannot opt for composition scheme.
Correct.
So both under 10.1 as well as 10.2A. So composition scheme, I cannot go if I am making supply of goods or services through e-commerce operator. Now they have omitted goods, supply of goods through e-commerce operator. So how you feel? So what is the impact of this, and did you experience practically about your clients? So telling that composition scheme is beneficial. So
yeah, there are a lot of clients who believe that composition scheme is beneficial for them because they are small players. Composition levy is given for taxpayers who are having turnover of 1.5 crores, less than 1.5 crores.
Yes.
So these are all small taxpayers who cannot afford to maintain all those records of ITC.
And even returns.
Filing of returns on a monthly basis, claiming of ITC, all those things they cannot afford more on compliances. So they feel that composition levy is something which they can, it is an ease of compliance for them. And so when the taxpayer is going for selling through Amazon or Flipkart, then the rule says they cannot go for a competition.
Correct. That was before amendment.
Before this amendment.
Yes.
So even if they have 50 lakhs or 1 crore of sale through offline mode, and they have just 1 lakh
Small
of sale,
portion, correct.
small portion, very negligible portion through Amazon or through Flipkart, and they want to expand their business, then they cannot go for a competition scheme. They have to opt out of a competition scheme.
Correct.
So this is a very welcome move for them. So they can also come.
Electronic sellers, this traders who are into electronics, like those who import electronics and then sell retail electronics. Then even there's some small goods. Consumer goods.
This will also be helpful for small grocery shops which are now being tied up with e-commerce platforms.
Dunzo, Zepto,
So they also will have a benefit of not getting, not have to
come out of composition.
Come out of composition.
Yes.
So because they are all very small players and they can they will be very much comfortable here. Because for a grocery store, the number of items will be very huge for them. To maintain a proper...
I do agree, because now in our home, we order many times from this Swiggy, Instamart, Zepto and all. So like small traders will be supplying. So that's, yes, this is a correct point actually. Now these small grocery shops, if they make supply through e-commerce operator before this budget, so they have to come out of the composition scheme and they need to again go for normal return filing, accounts and records, etc. Now they can continue this. So they don't have to come out of the composition scheme. But I personally feel even services also should come out. Supply of services, because when they give supply of goods through e-commerce operator, they omitted. I personally feel supply of services through e-commerce operator also they should have omitted.
Because even small restaurants will get benefited out of that. That is a
mainly,
true point.
I will explain about our industry, that is teachers. Lot of CA teachers, what they do is that they start their own recording and they start selling the lectures. When they start selling the lectures, they sell it through various e-commerce platforms. Because how much ever good faculty you may be, because today, with the advent of YouTube and e-commerce platforms, so student will be purchasing only through e-commerce platforms. And even though their turnover is not crossing 50 lakhs, now they cannot go for composition scheme because they are making supply of services through e-commerce operator. I feel, they should have removed that also, but I don't know why they have taken only goods. So what's your view on this?
No, that is a very good point actually. Even there are a lot of small service providers who will be, who will have good business if they are under composition scheme, because
they don't have to charge that much of GST.
The GST is very high in this scenario.
18%
GST.
18%, and if they are under composition scheme, 6%.
6%.
They can inflate that 6% in the price itself. Practically speaking, so they can inflate 6% and they can collect it from the customer. But 18% they don't have to charge, right? So then benefit will be there. Of course, for small service providers. And today with the advent of e-commerce, I think that should have been. So
let's hope that
in the council meeting,
meeting or in the future amendments, that will also be included by the government.
And next we are moving on to the next amendment related to this section 16. Of course, one small change they have done, that previously whatever ITC they need to reverse along with interest should be added to the liability. Instead of adding it to the liability, that is, if the payment is not made within 180 days from the date of invoice, the recipient has to reverse the ITC along with interest, and that should have been added to liability. Now they removed it and they replaced it with paid. So I think it's a cosmetic change. What's your view?
It's a cosmetic change only. Because before it was mentioned that the whatever ITC which was claimed, if the supplier was not paid within the 180 days, then whatever ITC was claimed in that invoice has to be reversed along with the interest. It should be added to the output liability, output tax liability, which was mentioned in the previous before this amendment. Now they have made it that whatever tax was paid to be added along with the interest under section 50. They have mentioned the interest section also for This will enable us, the department and also the taxpayers, that what is the rate of interest, because before it just said that along with the interest, what is the rate of interest, nothing was mentioned. Now there is a clarity that interest under section 50.
So in this regard, actually I wanted to add one more point, because when we refer to section 50 subsection 3 says that on interest with respect to ITC wrongly availed, we don't have to pay. If you remember, we got this amendment recently. So I have wrongly taken ITC, but I have not used it. I am reversing it. I don't have to pay interest. If you remember, this amendment is there. So only on wrong utilization
interest is
there.
Correct.
Now I think this is something regarding that. So for example, I have availed ITC. I have not made payment to my supplier within 180 days. I have not utilized that ITC. Now when I am paying it back, I don't have to pay interest.
Correct.
Because that got connected to section
50. Correct.
So which means that it is a saving only.
It is a savings.
It is a
before the reference to section 50 was not available.
Correct.
Then the department, what the officers will say is, you have to pay along with the interest of 18%.
Yes.
Now we can avoid that interest payment if the ITC is not utilized.
We have not utilized the ITC. So again, it is a welcome measure.
Yeah.
And then next thing is about 17 subsection 5 blocked credit. So many cases I have studied, many articles I read wherein they have said that CSR expenditure is a business expenditure because it is in the course or furtherance of business, because section 16 says, so whenever we have input tax credit and that is, it is inward supplies, GST paid, used in the course or furtherance of business, we can take ITC. Course or furtherance of business. So do you feel CSR expenditure is in the course or furtherance of business?
No, it is. I feel that it is in the course of furtherance business because the CSR expenditure is a mandatory expenditure which has to be done under the Companies Act.
Correct.
So when statutory is asking you to do something on a mandatory basis, then we cannot avoid it. It is a business expenditure only.
Correct.
But this amendment, I feel that they have made it in sync with the Income Tax Act, which also disallows the expenditure on CSR.
Expenditure. Oh, CSR expenditure is not allowed as deduction for income tax
also. So now they have made the amendment in GST Act also saying that any ITC on the CSR expenditure is also disallowed under 17.5. So what the government is trying to tell us is that CSR is, though it is a business expenditure, it is for a social welfare motive. It is not for the expansion of business or anything.
But I remember there is one point here. That is, generally food and beverages are blocked credit.
Correct.
But if food and beverages expenditure is incurred by employer to employee under a statutory obligation, ITC
is available.
We have an exception.
Correct.
Now, why can't that principle be applied here, stating that, so that much of the CSR expenditure that you need to incur as per Companies Act, you should be given. So I personally feel that, of course, end of the day, Section 17, subsection 5, if it says something, blocked credit means blocked credit. It may be a business expenditure or not, because we have many things
Even motor vehicles is there.
Correct. Renting of motor vehicles.
Renting of motor vehicles is there. Works contract is there.
Purchase of motor vehicle, works contract, construction expenditure, even some goods which are destroyed in the process also they are disallowing, if I am not wrong. So goods lost, destroyed, stolen, etc. and all also.
So even that is in the course of business. It is an abnormal expenditure, but that is in the course of business. Things like that happens in the business. So even when that is also under the block credit, we cannot say that we cannot apply the principles of food and beverages here. Also. Because the 17.5 in this new amendment clearly says any expenditure in the nature of corporate and social responsibility is disallowed. The ITC on that is disallowed.
So we can't do anything in this. So this is something which is not good for the taxpayer.
Correct.
From the taxpayer perspective, this is a negative impact it will be having. So next we are moving on to the amendment related to section 23. So this section 23, this amendment again, multiple advance rulings, and recently also an advance ruling of Maharashtra Advance Ruling Authority, they gave in one case that section 23 will not override section 24, because section 23 says that if a person is making exempted supplies, or if a person is making non-taxable supplies, or if a person is making supplies covered under RCM, or even an agriculturist, they are not required to register. So I have come across many peculiar situations wherein I am a person who is making only RCM supplies. Recipient is liable to pay. And I am having some inward supplies on which I need to pay GST under RCM. My outward supply is also RCM. My inward supply also RCM. When my inward supply is RCM, I have to compulsorily register as per section 24.
Correct.
And when I am making outward supplies only under RCM, I don't have to register. So there is a contradiction here, 23 and 24. And many cases were not in favor of the taxpayer. They were telling like, no, 24 will only prevail.
Yeah.
Because they use the word notwithstanding anything. But now I think there is a clarity that has been given, because in section 23, they use the word notwithstanding anything contrary to section 22 and 23. I think 24. 24. Yeah. So which means 23 will override 22 and 24. Am I right?
Yeah.
So that's my understanding.
Yeah.
So did you come across this kind of situations anywhere?
Yeah, this has a lot of impact actually. The section 23 says, before this amendment, without the notwithstanding, it says that a person who's fully into exempted goods or supply.
Correct.
Supply of exempt goods which are exempted from GST, then they need not register under GST.
Correct.
But 24 says there are certain cases where it says that
like interstate supplies,
even
supply through e-commerce
operator, those things will attract compulsory registration.
Correct.
So if I am a person who is dealing only with exempted goods,
correct,
I am tying up with an e-commerce operator,
like sale of books through e-commerce platform,
Amazon or Flipkart.
Yes.
Then even though I am not liable to pay any GST, I have to get registered because the section 24 says I have to get registered.
Correct.
And 24 had a notwithstanding clause. So it was prevailing before this amendment.
Correct.
Now those taxpayers need not get registered.
Yes.
Which is
so I used to tell in my class, but no, this is not correct. 23 will only override because it's an independent section.
Correct.
Because 24 uses the word notwithstanding anything contained in 22 subsection 1 previously. So then 24 will override only 22. So then 23 being an independent section, we need to interpret independently. But finally, this problem is solved. So 23 will always prevail over 24. 24 will prevail over 22. So yes. Then I think that is Jalaram Foods case. I was referring to Maharashtra advanced ruling, Jalaram Foods case.
Yeah.
And then next amendment is with respect to this GSTR 1, GSTR 3B, GSTR even 9 annual return, and GSTR 8, which is to be filed by e-commerce operator. These 4 returns, they have given a common point that we can file even after the due date within 3 years.
Correct.
Previously, the time limit was not there. Now we can file it within 3 years after the due date. They brought in some time limit. So how you feel, or what is the reason that you feel this time limit could have been given?
No, under section 73 and 74, when the tax department is taking the assessments, so if the return is filed, then it becomes difficult for the department
to go for 74.
Correct. Because it is a self-assessed tax.
Yes.
So the department cannot, it may be difficult for the department to prove that there is a misrepresentation or a fraud suppression of facts to open the case under 74. Correct. Now, if the return is not filed, the blocking of return if within 3 years, it will enable the department to open cases under 74 easily, much easier. So this is actually a negative amendment for the taxpayers.
Yes, but I also feel it could be a positive also in one side, because, for example, I have missed filing returns few months, like 6 months or 7 months like that. Now they will initiate cancellation of registration, and when they initiate cancellation of registration, they may levy penalty and all. To escape from the penalty, voluntarily also I can go and file within this 3-year period. Because they may pass an order under 73 or 74, whatever the case may be. To avoid that penalty, voluntarily I can go and file the returns. Even though I missed the due date, say I went into sleep mode and then I recovered, and I can still file the return. I feel we can avoid penalty. So what's your view on that?
No, now with the return which is blocked more than 3 years, that cannot be
within 3 years.
Within 3 years we can do, but if it goes beyond 3 years, then that provision also will not apply for the taxpayer. So there is negative and also a plus side for the.
But more of negative side. Yes.
Yeah.
And next thing is about this. Yes. So there is a offences. Section 122 subsection 1, some big list of offences wherein the penalty was 10,000 rupees or 100% of the tax, whichever is higher, like that. In that, they added one new penalty for e-commerce operator.
Correct.
whenever e-commerce operator is allowing any person unregistered to supply through their platform or make interstate supply, they are not supposed to make interstate supply, but they are allowing interstate supply through their platform, or they are not furnishing any statement, GSTR 8. Now they brought in that penalty under 122 subsection 1. So that is 100% of the tax or 10,000, whichever is higher. Of course, 100% of the tax is only going to be higher. So what do you feel like? Does e-commerce operators are now brought under the close watch by the government?
Yeah, because see, now the government is allowing, I think this is a amendment which is happening because of the section 23 only again, because
Yes.
23 and also because of the section 10 composition levy, because now government is allowing even a composition dealer to enter into e-commerce platform.
Correct.
So under section 10, one of the conditions for being a composition dealer is you cannot make any interstate
supplies. Correct.
So now the onus of making sure that the composition dealer is not making any interstate supply through e-commerce platform, because e-commerce platform is a very huge platform.
Correct.
Anyone who is registered in the e-commerce platform, there should be some check to ensure that the composition dealer is selling only within the state.
Yes.
So there has to be some responsibility placed on someone. So government, what they have done is they have placed this responsibility on the e-commerce operator.
Wow, nice. So
and also
right.
the first point says if the e-commerce operator allows anyone who is unregistered, except in the case where their registration is not required. So in this inference, we can go to the section 23, which is a non-withstanding. So like we discussed, if the supplier is supplying only exempted goods,
correct,
then if he need not registered under GST, but still he can go for e-commerce. E-commerce operator will also not be penalized for that because he is not liable to be registered. So that point is also added. So that way.
So which means it is like a connecting point
for section 10 and 23.
Yeah. So then next one is like a few imprisonment situations they have removed, like obstructing an officer from doing duty, then tampering material evidence, and even another point like failure to supply information. So these were previously covered under imprisonment. So now they have removed this. So what do you feel like? Why they would have removed this under imprisonment cases?
No, these amendments are all
and obstructing an officer from doing duty. Do you feel it is really happening in practical scenario?
See, in practical scenario, as far as we have seen, it is not happening. Most of the scenario would be in the other way around.
Yeah. So they will obstruct our business.
Our business.
Yeah.
Right from registration till everything, we are facing a lot of difficulties from the other side only, not from the taxpayers.
So there is nothing like that gundagiri or rowdyism where the taxpayer will keep more bouncers and not allow the
that is not happening in practical.
So maybe they would have removed for that.
Correct.
And what about this tampering material evidence? Have you seen anything like that in practical scenario? Tampering material evidence?
No, they have mentioned that tampering of material evidence, they have removed it, but they have also in another places they have mentioned false record of falsely changing the sales invoice or something like that. That is all still retained.
Okay. So, but tampering material evidence, I feel now everything is being gathered from the department on electronic means only. So maybe in old regime, there could be like documents where we can tear up the documents, all these things. Now everything is recorded.
Correct. And now even e-invoice has been applicable from
e-invoice. And I heard one point, like forensic labs were started by GST department in order to find the digital evaders like that. Have you come across this kind of news?
We have come across those news, but the government is planning to put AIs and forensics reports so that they can capture a lot of tax evasions.
Correct.
Because they can match
AIS.
AIS. Correct. Exactly.
Like AIS. Yes. Oh, super. So then next thing, even failure to supply information do not attract any imprisonment.
Correct.
So, but failure to supply information, if I am busy doing my business, from where I can supply the information whenever department is asking. So, I think that should not attract any imprisonment. So, then next one is about compounding fee. Compounding fee, they have changed it. So, before amendment, it was minimum compounding fee. So, 10,000 rupees or 50% of the tax, whichever is higher. And maximum was triple, 30,000 or 150% of the tax, whichever is higher. I think now they changed it to minimum 25% of tax and maximum 100% of tax. I think compounding fee got reduced.
Now it is simple also. The section also is very
Yes,
simple.
very simple.
Before this amendment, there was for minimum penalty, there is a lower, whichever is higher. For maximum, there is a whichever is higher. It creates confusion for the taxpayer and also for the department.
Correct.
So now it is very clear. If there is any compounding of offence, the penalty will be 25% to 100% of the tax.
Yes. Between that, usually the officer has to fix the compounding
fee.
And then again, don't you feel that it will lead to, harassment? Like, because when you give power to the officer to keep 25 to 100, that's a big window. 25 to 100 is a big window. Actually, it was there before also. But I expected a sweeter provision, like the window should be less, because see, it is completely in my hand to fix 25 or 100. Correct. So which means if you are not cooperating with me, I mean cooperative in all means, everywhere. Okay. So then I can fix even 100%, right? So then won't it lead to harassment?
Yeah, it does lead to harassment, because
have you come across any such situations?
Yeah, we are coming across. Practically in all situations, we come across harassments by taxpayer department. Even before this amendment, the penalty was 150%.
Yes. So no, I mean in a budget, when they thought about this, why they should not think about 25 to 50 or something lesser window? Yeah. Because I feel the window is big.
Yeah.
25 and 100, minimum 25, maximum 100. So that, they can play like anything.
Correct. No, the only thing is the benefiting the taxpayer is before they will, the harassment will be for 150%. Now it has been reduced to 100%.
So harassment is there, still there. Yes. Then next, like consent-based sharing of information, something they have added.
Yeah, so which is very new.
What is that?
This is actually for based on the consent of the supplier or the recipient. Government, they are sharing, they said they will share some of the information from the common portal to other systems, like your filing of GSTR 1, 3B and GSTR 9 and details in the registration.
Okay. Registration this 25. Information they are going to get during the audit.
Correct.
Departmental audit. Okay. So based on that information, they are going to share it with?
That is not actually clear in this amendment, because the amendment says, sharing of information from the common portal to other systems notified by the government. So to which system they will notify this, transfer these documents, we don't know.
From this, I have one query. Usually, this betting and gambling is illegal.
Correct.
But if I do betting and gambling and I earn some money, and say income tax department or GST department comes to my premises and identify that I got some illegal income. Okay. Now on that I have to pay GST as well as income tax, because tax is payable whether it is legal income or illegal income. So I will pay GST. Now you mean to say this information will be shared with Enforcement Directorate.
Yeah.
So they may come to my house and see what kind of money laundering activities or other, binami activities that I am doing.
Yeah, exactly correct. This will be shared with all other agencies, income tax, ED,
CBI also.
They can transfer to anyone.
Correct,
so
correct.
What all the agencies which they are planning to transfer is not mentioned here. And the only benefit for the taxpayers is, it is based on the consent of the taxpayer. Only on the consent of taxpayer.
Suppose if the taxpayer is not giving consent,
then the information will not be shared, because the amendment says, the new section says, on the consent of recipient of the supplies or the supplier.
Okay.
The information will be shared and the consent will be taken in the form which will be prescribed later. So we have to wait and see what is the form,
I think
what is the nature.
More clarity is
required.
So what kind of consent, etc. and all. Yes. So then
whether they will take the consent in the GST registration form also, we don't know what is going to happen.
Like how in insurance and banking, all terms and conditions tick. So
we don't know how this consent is going to be.
Yes.
So we'll have to wait till more clarities we get.
And then next amendment that we have is in the Schedule 3. They made it as a retrospective amendment from 1/7/2017. I think mainly for that liquor license, those which were added after 2017, liquor license by state government,
then
high sales. then sale of warehoused goods, and even outside the country movement of goods, some things which they have added at a later point of time. Maybe there they would have seen some litigations, that's why they would have prescribed retrospective effect. Correct. So how do you feel this retrospective amendments, is it good or bad for the taxpayers?
It is actually bad. Any retrospective amendment is bad. Whether it is, there are some retrospective amendments which may favor the taxpayer also, but those are very, very rare scenarios. Most of the retrospective amendment done by the governments will be to benefit the department only and not the taxpayers.
Correct.
So even in this case, the retrospective amendment says all these transactions will be treated as not a supply.
This is beneficial. No,
this is beneficial. This is beneficial. Yeah. But what they have said in the proviso is, if there is any tax which was collected previously, but that is from 1/7/2017 to 30th January 2019. During that period, for any of this high sea sale or the transfer of liquor license,
that will not be refunded.
That will not be refunded.
What kind of thing is this?
So this is actually not a beneficial section. So if there was any tax which was collected and paid to the government, it will not be refunded. But this is also helping taxpayers.
Don't we have any kind of writ petitions or something like that? Because no, personally I feel, see, you are telling that it is not treated as supply from retrospective effect. And you are also telling that if you have paid tax, treat it like a donation to government. So literally. Correct. So then they should have at least given 80G certificate for this. To be frank, they should give. So like this is a donation to government kind of. So then yes, you are telling something.
This will help some of the taxpayers who have not collected any tax on that during that period.
It's a benefit for not complying with the provision. Wow. Yes.
So for those who have complied with the provision, the refund is not available. Correct. Because when refund is available, so there is a provision called unjust enrichment.
Correct.
So that when in that case, of course,
if I have paid tax, I would have collected it from my recipient. And unjust enrichment I cannot prove. So therefore there is no refund. But I should have given that chance to
that chance should have been given, but government doesn't want to open a lot of litigations in this, and I think they have sealed the door shut.
So this is many such cases. I think even I remember interest computation on gross liability or net liability. When they made it on net liability retrospective, I think the similar kind of thing they gave. Correct. Even if you have paid interest on gross liability, don't ask us refund. Correct. So this is also the same kind of.
Even when any amnesty scheme is also announced for GST, waiver of late fee, it is only for that period. If someone has filed before that, there are cases practically which I have seen in my clients who paid a lot of penalty, 1 year return, they would have not filed, they would have paid all the late fee. Next week, an amnesty scheme was came in.
You know how my students are? What my students will do, if we offer any discount, usually during this festive seasons we give discount. He will say, last week only I purchased book or lecture, so this week you announce discount, give refund. So we have
the same thing happened in my client also. So when the scheme was announced, he has paid a lot of money as late fee and interest. Now he asked me whether I can get a refund of that. It is not applicable.
Then he might have felt that you took that money and kept in your pocket. So that could have happened. Yes. So then,
but those things we can prove because we have a GST challan, everything written, so all is there. But still,
he will have that feeling.
He will have the feeling. Correct.
He will have that feeling because if they are corporate clients, they will understand. But if they are individual clients,
it is difficult to explain to them all these things actually.
Then next thing is like amendments in IGST Act. So they added one definition, like they amended the definition, non-taxable online recipient, because we have this point, import of services by, that is OIDR services, online information database access retrieval services, by non-taxable online recipient. The supplier outside India will pay GST, like Netflix, Amazon Prime, etc. So the supplier will pay GST. And who is a non-taxable online recipient? They said it as any unregistered person importing for other than business or commerce. Now that other than business or commerce is omitted, which means any unregistered person importing the services. So then supplier only will pay GST. They don't have to compulsorily get registered.
Correct.
So I think that's a welcome.
Very welcome.
So like startups and all, definitely they will be importing services. Today OIDR services are there. Like we are talking about Amazon Prime, Netflix, but there could be like cloud storage. Cloud storage is one service which everyone,
hosting, web
Hosting,
domain,
yes.
everything is
OIDR
yeah,
services.
OIDR services.
So now a startup which is importing the service, previously mandatorily they were required to register because they are required to pay GST under RCM. So now that problem is not there, because even though they use it for business purpose, it will not come under RCM now, because still they are non-taxable online recipient. So the supplier only will pay GST. Again, I feel, this is also connected to what we have discussed in section 10 and 23 and all, that for small business players, they are really giving benefits.
Correct.
They are giving benefits to small traders, small business, startups, service providers. Even I remember you were referring the MSME schemes also they have launched in this budget. So which means this government is so good for the small
startups and
taxpayers.
MSMEs, they are
So
focusing
can we
on
feel like, is it because of the elections which is going to come in the next year?
Yeah, it is. Obviously, it is for that
See.
also, and also based on past records
No,
also.
what I feel is like, is really government that much having soft corner towards the small taxpayers over the past, or is this love started just like that? Over the past,
it was there a little bit, but now it has increased because due to these elections and all.
Yeah.
Because even under the income taxes, the slab rates were not increased for a very long period.
Correct.
It was just recently increased in this budget.
Yeah.
Only.
I think 2024 elections.
Yeah, it plays a role.
It plays a role. Yeah. Good. So I think then the next budget session will be election friendly budget. Completely. Yeah. So it's like 50-50. Then the next budget is going to be election friendly. Then the next amendment in IGST Act is omission of this proviso that was added in section 12 subsection 8 of IGST Act. That is, a person who is providing transportation of goods service from India to outside India, the ending point was taken as the place of supply. So consequently, they were enjoying the benefit of export of service. For example, supplier in India, recipient outside India. Suppose if both supplier and recipient are in India also, the place of supply will be outside India. And anyhow, that service will be taxable.
Correct.
The moment supplier and recipient are in India, let the place of supply be in India or outside India, that service is going to be taxable. It is never going to be export of service. Because to become export of service, recipient should be outside India. So maybe for that reason, they would have omitted this proviso, I feel.
Yeah.
So like, anyhow, it is going to be taxed. Why we need to add that proviso? I feel it is a cosmetic change. In this regard, one Supreme Court case, like both supplier and recipient are outside India, ocean freight case. Supreme Court case was there. Can you throw some light on that?
Yeah, the case is actually completely different from this. Actually, that was a case where the GST was liable to pay under reverse charge. What the department importer of service. So for the shipping charges which were paid to the
shipping company.
Yeah, shipping company who was outside the India.
Correct.
What the department said is the recipient has to pay the tax under reverse charge.
That importer of goods
in India has to pay the charges.
I think there is a double taxation.
Yeah, there was a double taxation, because of which the Supreme Court struck down that as an unconstitutional. Because when the goods are imported into India, customs duty is anyway levied on the CIF basis.
Correct.
And it's not on the FOB basis.
Correct.
So when we are computing the customs duty on CIF basis, the freight is already included in the cost of the goods.
Correct.
So it is leading to a double taxation.
Correct.
So that is the reason Supreme Court has struck down that.
But why they have not incorporated that in the budget?
Yeah, that is
also section amendment they have to do, because if Supreme Court has said that it is going to become a double taxation, so we need to avoid that. When they struck down that, then the exception to section 9(3), which we were discussing now, then it should have been omitted. So that is not incorporated. In the budget. Yeah. So maybe in the GST Council meeting,
we can
discuss upon. Yeah. But I think the Supreme Court decision came like 6 months to 8 months before.
It is a long. The amendment came before 6 to 8 months.
Fine.
But now since we have this Supreme Court ruling, even if the section still says that it is taxable, the RCM is applicable on this, we can rely upon the Supreme Court judgment.
And we don't have to pay.
We don't have to pay, because Supreme Court overrules.
Because unnecessarily if we pay, tomorrow they will tell, okay, this is, you don't have to pay, whatever you have paid is paid later.
Yeah.
Possible. So it's better not to pay.
Because Supreme Court ruling is that which is favoring the taxpayer. So we
Yes.
need not pay that.
Yes. And then the next, we are moving on to customs amendments. Only two amendments are there in customs. So one is related to this, I think, yes, exemption granted under customs will be valid for a period of 2 years.
This was amendment in
Finance Act 2021.
Yeah.
So then now they gave a connecting point to that. However, nothing contained in this subsection is applicable if the exemption was given under FTP or CGST Act or any other law. So then it is not going to, even bilateral agreements, etc. That is not going to have impact here.
Yeah.
So what do you feel?
Yeah, this is actually a welcome move, and it also gives much clarity to the importers actually. Because before, when this section came in 2021, lot of people, for some of the goods which were exempted through FTP or through the bilateral agreement,
they had this apprehension.
Yeah. Because the customs, this subsection says that the exemption is valid only for 2 years.
Correct.
So even if the FTP says so, the Customs Act says only 2 years. So there was confusion among the importers whether still exemption will be applicable because it is exempted through a bilateral treaty or through an FTP or through GST Act. Yes. So now there is a clarity that exemption under Customs Act will be valid for 2 years. If it is under any other act or any other policy of government or agreement between the bilateral agreement between two countries, then the exemptions of those will prevail over this Customs Act.
Yeah, then I think one last amendment we have is that Settlement Commission. So Settlement Commission, even income tax also it is there, and customs also it is there. Now they have given a time limit. So what is the time limit within which the Settlement Commission order should be passed? 9 months from the date of application, else the Settlement Commission application is abated. So which means that, so I think it is void. Yeah. So then again they have to go for the Settlement Commission. And that 9 months window, they have given a provision like it can be extended for a further period of 3 months. Yeah. So which means that there is a certainty, like this is the time by which they need to pass the order. So then one more amendment also in Tariff Act, I remember that this anti-dumping duty, safeguard duty, then anti-subsidy duty should be levied for a period of 5 years.
Correct.
I think in that anti-subsidy duty and anti-dumping duty should be levied for a period of 5 years. Every 5 years, they need to conduct a review and then they need to extend. So previously, one amendment was there. If they have not taken any review, automatically it will be extended for 1 year. So now, in that 1 year, I think they gave some cosmetic changes. Even if they have not reviewed, but if they have considered for review, then also it will be like extended for 1 year. So I think that is again the cosmetic change. Yeah. So yes, so these are the amendments that we have in budget 2023, that is Finance Bill 2023. Did you experience anything in the past like these amendments which comes in Finance Bill 2023 may miss when it becomes Act?
Regarding GST, with regards to GST in general, there are very, very limited chance only.
Very limited. So this is going to be final.
This is going to be the final. Yeah. And since this government has a majority also in the Lok Sabha, then the Finance Act being a money bill, it is very easier for them to pass.
Yeah. Unless otherwise a protest happens about this, no, we did not like this, or the stock market tumbles upon. So then maybe they may consider. Yes.
But there are the big issues in this budget is what I feel regarding income tax and also the direct tax.
Yes.
Indirect tax and
yes. So then the next thing, the last thing that I wanted to share. So how you felt, this particular interactive session, because I really thank you for coming this time and sparing some time with us for our subscribers and the audience. So definitely please keep coming and share your valuable information. So I just wanted to share your feedback.
Yeah, actually, I like to thank you for inviting me here. It was a very big opportunity for me to be here and present to all your subscribers about what I feel about the budget, what about the amendments which has happened over this budget. Finance Act.
Yes.
And it's also very good to share time with you discussing about this budget, what has happened and the background, and coming and presenting this video. This is a very good experience for us, for me, and it's I think in future also we'll
definitely we'll do. So for the forthcoming council meeting thereafter, we will definitely continue to do. Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot. And
Thank you.
thank you.
Yeah.